My name's Mark. I'm 31, a software developer by trade, and apparently the invisible child in my own family. Or, as I've been not so jokingly referred to since I was a teenager, the backup plan. I used to think they were just being playful, that the favoritism I noticed growing up was harmless. My younger brother, Jason, was always the center of attention, captain of the football team, loud, charming, the kind of guy who could lie through his teeth and still get a standing ovation. I was quieter, preferred books over parties, and somehow, that translated to less memorable in my mother's eyes. My dad left when I was 11, so it was just us and our mom. And maybe that's when it really started, the imbalance, the weird dynamic. Jason acted out, and I stepped up. I helped around the house, did well in school, got a part-time job when I was 16 to help with groceries. But in every photo album, every Facebook post, every holiday toast, it was always Jason this, Jason that. If I ever said anything, it was stop being jealous, or you know how your brother is. That phrase. I swear, if I had $1 for every time I heard, you know how your brother is, I'd have retired by now. By the time I turned 25, I'd already moved out, graduated college with zero debt thanks to scholarships and 2 part-time jobs, and landed my first real position in the tech world. Jason, meanwhile, had dropped out of college, crashed 2 cars that weren't his, and was currently between projects, which is family speak for doing absolutely nothing. And yet somehow, when we'd come home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, Jason was the one who got the welcome banner. I was the one who picked up groceries, cooked half the meal, and still ended up sleeping on the couch while Jason took the guest room. I didn't say anything. I told myself it was just how families worked. That maybe Jason needed the attention more. That maybe I didn't need validation from people who clearly didn't know what to do with someone like me. But it wore on me quietly, like erosion. 1,000 tiny moments that chip away at your self-worth. You don't even realize you're angry until one day, you're shaking with it. Last year was the first time I didn't go home for Christmas. I told them I had a deadline, that I couldn't make it. In truth, I just couldn't stomach another round of pretending I didn't notice when my own mother handed Jason a $5,000 check to help him get on his feet, and gave me a pair of socks, literally socks. She laughed and said, "You always lose yours, don't you?" Jason winked at me across the table. "Don't be mad, bro. I'm the favorite, remember?" I left before dessert. I told myself I was done expecting anything from them. But apparently, some small piece of me wasn't. Some small part of me still thought maybe one day they'd see me. Actually see me. Spoiler, they didn't. My 31st birthday was coming up, and for the first time in years, I planned a dinner. I booked a private room at a nice Italian place in town, not over-the-top fancy, but definitely not cheap. I sent out the invites a month in advance. Just immediate family, Mom, Jason, our Aunt Liz, and my cousin Emily. 5 people. Small, simple. I made the reservations, prepaid the deposit, even ordered a custom cake with my name on it. I figured, if nothing else, I could at least give myself a birthday where I wasn't an afterthought. The night arrived. I got there early, dressed in a new shirt, even got a haircut. I don't usually do much for myself, but this felt different. Like maybe, just maybe, something had shifted. Maybe they'd show up and actually be present. Maybe they'd remember it was my day. They all showed up, late, of course, but I let it slide. Jason walked in first, flashy as ever, wearing some designer jacket I'm fairly certain Mom paid for. He clapped me on the back and said, "Happy big day, bro." 31. Huh? That's like, almost middle-aged. He laughed at his own joke and slid into the seat at the head of the table. My seat. I didn't say anything. I just took the one next to him. Mom came in right behind him, all smiles, clutching a gift bag that looked like it had been thrown together last minute from the pharmacy down the street. She kissed my cheek distractedly, then immediately turned to Jason. "Oh, honey, I saw that reel you posted. Hilarious." They started talking about some TikTok he made where he pretended to be a stay-at-home entrepreneur, whatever that means. Aunt Liz and Emily followed, both looking mildly disinterested, but polite enough to smile and say happy birthday. We ordered appetizers. I picked at the bruschetta while Jason loudly explained why he was taking a break from the traditional job market to focus on building passive income streams. Translation: he was still living off Mom's money. Mom beamed the entire time like he was announcing he'd just won the Nobel Prize. Then came the moment. The waiter brought out the cake, chocolate hazelnut, my favorite, and everyone did the usual awkward round of happy birthday. I was just about to blow out the candle when Mom raised her wine glass and said the words that froze the entire room. To the son who actually matters. The air went still. I didn't even blink. Jason smirked. Aunt Liz laughed, not like it was funny, but more like she didn't know what else to do. Emily looked uncomfortable and mumbled something into her glass. I just stared at Mom. She clinked glasses with Jason, who grinned like he'd just won something. To Jason, she said again, always chasing his dreams. My hands didn't shake. My smile didn't falter. I just reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the envelope. A plain white one. No writing on the outside. I slid it across the table toward Mom, who looked confused for a second but took it anyway. She opened it while Jason watched with mild amusement. It took 5 seconds. Her eyes scanned the paper. Then her face dropped, like someone had pulled the floor out from under her. Her wine glass tipped sideways, hit the table, and shattered. Red soaked into the tablecloth. No one moved. No one said a word. The paper in that envelope wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even long, just a single page. But every word on it had weight. Legal weight. You see, what Mom and Jason didn't know, what no one at that table knew, was that 6 months earlier, I bought the house. Their house. The one Mom had lived in since she inherited it from her parents. The one Jason still called home whenever he dropped by to raid the fridge, crash for a few weeks, and leave laundry everywhere like he was still 17. The family home had gone into foreclosure quietly. Turns out, when you spend most of your time enabling your favorite child and writing checks you can't cash, the bank notices. Mom never told anyone, of course, not Jason, not Liz, not even me. But I caught wind of it by accident. I was visiting my old high school, meeting with a former teacher who now ran a coding program. He mentioned how sad it was that the house on Maple Drive was being repossessed, said it was a shame what happened to the Mitchells. The Mitchells. My family. I could have asked Mom about it. I could have brought it up. But I didn't. I went straight to the bank, made some calls, and arranged to buy it outright. Cash. My tech job had done well, 2 promotions, a big raise, and a side project that got acquired. I had the money. And just like that, the house was mine. I paid off the liens, renovated the roof, updated the plumbing. All while she kept living there, clueless. It wasn't hard. She'd grown so used to depending on me in quiet ways, asking me to spot the utility bill, cover Jason's overdue insurance, help out with random repairs. So when I started sending payments through a fake LLC I'd set up, she didn't question it. And that envelope was the transfer of ownership. The title deed. Signed, notarized, and stamped. With one final clause highlighted in bold, tenant has 60 days to vacate the premises. The silence at the table was suffocating. Jason finally leaned over, trying to read the paper upside down. What is that? He asked, still smirking like this was some kind of prank. Is this a joke? Mom looked up at me, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, but no words coming out. It's not a joke, I said calmly, dabbing a bit of wine off my sleeve. I own the house. Have for 6 months. You're living there under my name. Liz gasped. Emily blinked rapidly. Jason laughed, a quick, awkward noise that died in his throat. But that's our home, Mom finally croaked. That's my home. It was, I replied. Until you let it go. I saved it. Quietly. Respectfully. And I let you stay, rent-free, for half a year while you toasted the son who actually matters. Jason slammed his hand on the table. You can't do this. I tilted my head. Jason, you've never paid rent. You haven't held a job in years. You've coasted on Mom's money, and when that ran out, on mine. You walk around like you're the second coming of Elon Musk because you made a TikTok that got 20K views. Meanwhile, I've been paying for everything from your health insurance to the gas in Mom's car. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. You want to talk about who matters? I said, locking eyes with my mother. It's not about money. It's about respect. You don't have to like me. You don't even have to celebrate me. But what you don't get to do, not anymore, is treat me like the family ATM and the family disappointment in the same breath. The room was dead quiet. Even the waiter, who had returned to check on the broken glass, froze halfway through the door before silently backing out again. I turned to Emily, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the chair. You've always been kind to me, I said gently. And Aunt Liz, you never played favorites. I appreciate that. Then I looked back at Mom. She was trembling, holding the paper like it was a bomb. You have 60 days, I repeated softly. Use them wisely. Jason stood up like he was about to start yelling, but I stood too calmly, with my coat already draped over one arm. And just so there's no confusion, I added, looking him dead in the eye, this isn't revenge. This is clarity. The kind you all refuse to give me. so I found it myself. I left the room to the sound of chairs scraping and whispers. I didn't look back. In the parking lot, I sat in my car for a long time. Not crying, not smiling, just breathing. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not because I'd hurt them, that had never been the goal, but because I'd finally said what needed to be said. I'd finally acted, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Of course, that was only the beginning. 2 days later, Jason showed up at my apartment. Not to apologize, oh no. He came with a plan. One that would test everything I'd just done and show me exactly how far they were willing to go to hold on to their fantasy. He rang the buzzer 5 times in a row, like some overgrown teenager who still thought he could get attention by being obnoxious. I didn't answer at first. I just stood there by the door, listening. Then I saw through the peephole Jason, pacing in front of my building with his phone in one hand and what looked like a coffee in the other, muttering to himself. I sighed. I opened the door before he could buzz again. He turned to me with that smug, entitled grin that used to make me second-guess myself. Not anymore. Bro, he said, drawing it out like a peace offering. You gotta be kidding with that paperwork. 60 days? Really? I thought you were just making a point. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. It wasn't a point. It's a boundary. Something you've never learned to respect. He laughed, actually laughed. Man, come on. This is Mom's house. You're gonna kick her out? Over what? Some passive-aggressive toast at your birthday? I crossed my arms. You really think that's what this is about? He shrugged, sipping his coffee. Look, I get it. You've always had this chip on your shoulder. You're the responsible one. I'm the favorite. Whatever. But at the end of the day, it's family, dude. You don't just evict your mother. Family doesn't treat someone like a convenience store. I shot back. She raised her glass to you at my birthday. Do you even hear how twisted that is? I've been covering her bills, your bills, cleaning up the messes you two leave behind without ever asking for anything. And not once, has either of you acknowledged it. He smirked again. So this is revenge then? No, I said quietly. This is me finally choosing myself. Jason's smirk faltered. Just a flicker. Then he leaned in, his tone lowering. She's freaking out, man. Like, panic mode. Crying, making calls to Uncle Ray, even talking about suing you. She won't win, I said flatly. The paperwork's airtight. He scowled. You really think you're better than us now? That your fancy job, your little apartment, your savings account. You think money makes you right? No, I replied, stepping back toward the door. But it sure helps pay the bills you two keep ignoring. That's when his facade cracked. His voice rose just a bit, his tone sharpening. If you go through with this, don't expect to be part of this family anymore. I looked him dead in the eye. You made sure I never really was. And with that, I went back inside. No door slam, no dramatic exit. Just quiet. Over the next week, things escalated. First, it started with Mom's texts, long, guilt-laced paragraphs that read like monologues from a low-budget soap opera. How could you humiliate me like that in front of everyone? I carried you for 9 months, and this is how you repay me? I never thought you'd become so cold. She didn't mention the toast. She didn't mention the bills I'd covered or the fact that she'd let Jason leech off her for the last decade. Just pure victimhood. I didn't respond. Then came the flying monkeys. Aunt Liz texted saying she was disappointed in how I handled things. Cousin Emily unfollowed me on Instagram. Jason left me a voicemail calling me vindictive and bitter. All of them seemed to forget that I had spent years quietly keeping the family from collapsing in on itself while they praised Jason for learning how to plug in a router. But the final straw wasn't the messages or the silent treatment. It was the call I got from the bank. Apparently, someone had tried to request a freeze on the property, citing family estate confusion. When I pressed the banker, she said someone claiming to be a legal heir had insisted there was a dispute in ownership and that the sale wasn't legitimate. Jason. It had to be him. I hung up, furious. Not surprised, just furious. I'd given them 6 months of free living. I'd kept my name out of it. I could have sold the house right away, flipped it for profit, or moved in myself. But I gave them time, grace, silence. And this is how they repaid me? With lies? With manipulation? With attempts to steal back something I legally owned? That was the moment something inside me hardened. They thought this was over a toast. They thought this was a petty act of revenge from the forgotten son. What they didn't understand, and never cared to understand, was that this wasn't just about a house. It was about every Christmas I spent watching Jason open the biggest gifts while I got a clearance hoodie from Walmart. It was about every time I fixed something quietly, a leaky pipe, an overdue bill, and well, that's what sons are for in return. It was about being good, being dependable, being the one who held the line while Jason was free to crash and burn. And now that I'd taken control, they wanted to burn me for it. But I wasn't playing defense anymore. I didn't respond to the bank call immediately. I took a day, one full day to think. I spent it walking through the city with my phone on silent, watching strangers with coffee cups and backpacks and easy smiles. It reminded me how small the bubble I grew up in really was. That house, that family, that hierarchy where Jason was the golden boy and I was the background character, it wasn't the world. It was a bad habit I'd never broken. But now, I had the chance to rewrite the ending. When I got home, I called my lawyer. Not a family lawyer, my lawyer. Her name's Claire. Smart, efficient, and with zero patience for games. I'd hired her originally to make sure the purchase of the house was clean. Now I needed her to make it clear to everyone else. I need a formal cease and desist sent to my brother, I said over the phone. And I want you to draft a notice of eviction, not just for my mom, but for him, too. He's not on the lease. He's not on anything. He's a squatter at this point. Claire didn't even flinch. Consider it done. I'll have the letters out by noon. Also, I added, let's put the house on the market. I want it listed before the end of the month. There was a short silence. Are you sure? She asked. That's a big move. I've never been more sure. The next week was pure chaos, but controlled chaos, the kind I orchestrated from a distance. The cease and desist arrived first, addressed to Jason. Claire made it airtight. It referenced his attempt to interfere with the bank, cited potential fraud, and warned of legal action if he so much as called the loan officer again. She CC'd the bank. He tried calling me twice. I didn't pick up. Then came the formal eviction notice. This one hit Mom hard. She called me sobbing, the kind of performative sobbing I used to fall for when I was 10 and thought family first meant something. I didn't pick up. She left voicemails, some pitiful, some angry, some switching between the two in the same breath. After everything I've done for you? You're going to sell the house your grandparents built? You're going to kick your own mother out on the street? I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I forwarded one of the messages to Claire, who filed it away in case she tries anything legally. She warned me that Mom might attempt to stall or claim hardship. Don't worry, I told her. She'll stall. It's all she knows how to do. Jason, meanwhile, posted about me on social media. No names, of course. Just vague jabs like, nothing like getting stabbed in the back by your own brother, and family doesn't mean anything when greed's involved. He even tagged some inspirational quote accounts, as if that would give him moral high ground. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered every time he laughed at me for being boring. Every time he mocked my job, my clothes, my silence. Every time he got bailed out, covered, rescued, and looked smug doing it. I didn't need revenge. I just needed freedom. The house hit the market 2 weeks later. My realtor called it a charming 3-bedroom with historical character and new renovations. We had 3 offers within the first 4 days. I picked the one with a clean cash offer and a fast close. Then I sent the final notice, 30 days to vacate. Jason showed up one last time at my office, of all places. He waited by the front entrance until I stepped out for lunch. I wasn't even surprised to see him anymore. You're really doing it, he said. No smile this time. Just bitter resentment. You're actually going to sell the house. Our family's house. No, I replied, adjusting my coat. My house. You're welcome, by the way. You would have lost it years ago. He shook his head slowly. You think you're the hero in all this? No, I said. I think I'm the only adult in a family full of children. He clenched his jaw. You're dead to her, you know. To Mom. I looked him in the eye. I was dead to her the second I was born second. He didn't have a response to that. Just walked away, shoulders tense, ego bruised, pride deflated. He never contacted me again after that. The day Mom moved out, I wasn't there. Claire handled it. She coordinated with a property manager and ensured the locks were changed after they left. I heard they tried to stall again, something about her back pain and Jason's pending business opportunity in the garage, but it didn't matter. The sale had gone through. The new owners were moving in the next day. I asked the property manager to leave a manila envelope on the counter for them. Inside was a short note that read, "Take good care of this place." She taught me how to survive, but not how to live. Maybe now it can be a home again. As for me, I used the sale money to put a down payment on a quiet condo on the other side of the city. It's not huge, but it's mine. No one else's name on the deed. No one dropping by unannounced. No guilt, no manipulation, no pretending. I took a solo trip for my next birthday, booked a cabin in the mountains with good Wi-Fi, a stocked fridge, and silence. The kind of silence that feels earned. No texts from family. No missed calls. No fake toasts or awkward dinners. Just me, a fire pit, a bottle of red wine, and peace. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just the responsible one. I wasn't the backup. I wasn't the disappointment. I was the man who walked away from a rigged system and built something of his own, quietly, confidently, and without apology. And that, to me, was the real birthday gift.